Oh, well, good afternoon. Welcome to my kitchen. My name is Steve Smith. I'm a middle school English teacher, and I like to cook in my spare time. You have caught me just as I'm getting ready to prepare one of my favorites, which was requested by a family member. So I'm going to make today steak fingers. The way that I'm going to make that is I'm going to start off with kebab squares. So each one of these is an individual chunk of meat, and we're going to pound them out flat. So in order to do that, I have my trusty meat mallet here. Now, my meat mallet has 3 different sides. So this side is, let me come around there closer to the camera. This side has bigger pyramids, this side has smaller, and this side is flat. We're gonna use all 3 sides because this one is gonna start the tenderization. This is going to make it so that it's really soft and chewy, and this is just gonna flatten it out. So we're gonna use all 3 sides, and I'm gonna show you how to do that. So before we get started, you wanna protect your surface. So I have just an oven pad here, and then I've got a like a Ziploc bag that I've cut, and so I can put things inside there. So I'm gonna take this one square, put in the center here, and then using my meat mallet, I'm gonna start with the large size. So you just give it a couple of pounds, and then flip to the smaller one, and then finally finish off with the flat one. And now, take a plate here. We have the beginning of our chicken fingers. So we've got a little nice tenderized piece of meat there. So I'm just gonna keep doing these. I'll get all of these done, and then I'll show you how we're gonna prepare them. All right, I have all of my fingers, not these fingers, flattened out. And now I'm gonna show you how to bread them. So first we're gonna need to get all of our breading stuff together. All right, now to bread these, you're gonna need kind of a shallow container that will fit the entire piece of meat in there, and about half full of, well, about a quarter full of flour. So this is about half a cup of flour that I just spread out. And then in another deeper dish, you're gonna need to pour probably about a quarter of a cup of cream. And then to that, you're gonna add an egg. So put that egg right in there. And then I like to add the seasoning to both the flour and the wash, I guess, if you will. And so I'm gonna put a little bit of garlic powder in both of these, and a little bit of onion powder in both of these. And then I'm gonna give the flour just a little bit of a stir. And then with our the egg and cream mixture here, I'm going to add just a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. Ooh, that usually rolls off, and it did not that time. Not easy to say, people. Okay, and then we're gonna whisk this up. And once this comes together, we'll start dipping. All right, we've got our egg bath here. We've got our flour here. I'm gonna switch the order of these because what's gonna happen is we're gonna take our meat into the dry mixture, and then we're gonna put it in the wet mixture, and then back into the dry, and then into the skillet. In this skillet, I'm using a cast iron skillet because it holds the heat better. What I'm gonna do here is I've got about half an inch of canola oil that is warming. Putting your hand over it, you can feel like the heat is radiating off of it, so it's ready to go. You can also do a little test by tossing some flour in there, and if it bubbles, you're good. If it doesn't bubble, not so good. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna start with this. We're gonna go into the dry, and then different hand for the wet, because what we don't want is to get those big cakey fingers, you know, that you always get. Back here, use the dry hands. And then from this, we're gonna go straight into the oil. I'm gonna get a couple of them started first. So dry, and then wet, and then back into the dry, cover. Doing it this way keeps you from getting those big, you know, anytime we've ever breaded something, we've all gotten those big knobby fingers. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put this one in. When you're putting it in the grease, put it away from you. If you don't hear that immediate sizzle, you're just gonna have to let that one go and be the sacrifice for the rest of the herd, if you will. I'm gonna keep doing these and throwing them in the skillet, and then I'll show you when to flip them. All right, you can see here around the edges we're starting to get some browning. We're gonna go ahead and flip these. You got that nice golden brown on the other side. This one went a little too soon, so we'll flip that back over in a second. I'm gonna let this one go a little bit longer. What you're looking for is this nice golden brown on the outside. So we'll let those cook a little bit longer. All right, and as they're ready, you just wanna go ahead and pull them out and put them on a paper towel lined plate. Let them drain a little bit. Let those continue to cook. All right, I've got 4 of them completed. I'm gonna go ahead and finish up the rest of these and get them all fried up, and then I'll show you how to make some gravy to dip them in. It's gonna be amazing. All right, we've got all of our steak fingers on a platter, and we're draining them with all the grease. I'm gonna put another paper towel over the top of it, and then on top of that, I'm going to put a cloth, and that's gonna kind of help retain some of that heat while we work on our gravy. So let's get the ingredients for the gravy. All right, for our gravy, we're gonna need some flour. So instead of going back to the flour and getting more out, we have the flour that we dredged our meat in. It's going to be cooked, so it's okay to use. So we're gonna use this as our flour, so we're not having to dip into more. You need a cup of milk, salt, pepper, butter, and then for flavor, you know, I love my bacon fat. So we're gonna start with that. I've got a small saucepan heating. You can do this in a skillet as well. Also, if you had used the cast iron and you had less fat in there than what I put in there, you could definitely make your gravy in there. So if you're doing like a family serving, you could definitely use that. So what I'm gonna do is in this saucepan, I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons, a tablespoon and a half of butter. And then I'm going to add about a half of a tablespoon of bacon fat. Again, that just gives it some amazing flavor. We're gonna let that melt. Let's just get this all mixed up. Now we're gonna turn our fire down to about medium, between low and medium, so like medium low. And then to this, we're going to add a couple of tablespoons of flour. And then we just want to use our whisk and just get that moving around in there and get that flour cooked up. We don't want our flour clumpy. If you just let it sit there or you add your milk too soon, it's going to be really clumpy. This will give it the opportunity to cook that flour, and that way you don't have that flour taste. I don't know if you've ever had a gravy where the flour wasn't cooked, but it has a very raw flour taste. So you don't want that. So we're going to let this cook. We don't want it to cook to where it turns brown. If it starts to turn brown, you're going to have brown gravy, which is perfectly acceptable in some occasions, but I don't want brown gravy. I want white gravy. So just gonna let this flour cook a little bit. As we're mixing it up, you can see that it's still a nice creamy golden color, and that's where we want it. Much beyond this, and it's gonna turn into a brown gravy. So at this point, I'm gonna add our milk. So I'm adding a little bit of milk, and this is room temperature milk. So I'm gonna do a little bit at a time. Just kind of whisk that in there. And at this point, now that we have the milk in it, we can turn the heat up just a little bit. Not quite to medium, but up just a little bit more. And then we're gonna add a little bit more milk. Stir that up. You'll start to see it thickens really fast. You wanna make sure that you keep it moving so that it doesn't start to congeal. If it congeals, you're gonna have big lumps in your gravy, and that's never a good thing. Okay, we'll add the rest of the milk. And then we're gonna bring that up to a boil. So we will let that boil, and then we will add our salt and pepper to it. So let's give that a second. All right, you can see it's starting to simmer. You're getting the bubbles around the edges. You want to keep that moving because there is milk in this, obviously, and we do not want it to scorch. So as it starts to boil, it's going to start to thicken, but you want to make sure that you keep it moving so that you don't scorch your milk, because if you scorch your milk, it's not going to be a good flavor. All right, as you start to see the foam rise up, we're going to turn that heat down just a little bit, and to this we're going to add a heavy pinch of black pepper and a heavy pinch of salt. I'm going to add 2 pinches of salt because my pinch fell through, and then get that moving around. And as this starts to cool, it's going to thicken and you're going to have your white gravy. So that is our white gravy. And then I will show you the finished product when it finishes cooking. All right, our gravy has finally finished cooking. Notice it has gotten a little bit thicker. It'll continue to thicken as it cools. It's important to note at this point, you can do a couple of things. You could add cheese. I'm turning the heat off right now. You could add cheese, and this would be the cheese sauce for your macaroni and cheese. You could add vanilla and sugar, and this would turn into vanilla pudding. You can add some chocolate, vanilla, and sugar, and you'll have chocolate pudding. I use this also to make banana pudding. So this is this basic sauce is the starter for many, many different dishes. All right, our gravy is finished. You ready to see what it looks like? So I'm gonna get a ladle here, and I'm just gonna ladle this into this dish. Ooh, that looks so good. Give it a little taste. That is perfect. If you taste it and it needs something else, just add more to it. If it needs more salt, add more salt. If you want more pepper, add more pepper. At this point, it's good. So why not give it a taste? So I've got steak finger and I've got gravy. Let's taste it. The meat is so tender. The breading has a little bit of crisp to it. And this gravy just lights it on fire. Took a big bite there. So tender and good. All right, so today was steak fingers and country gravy or white gravy. If you like this, let me know how you like it if you try it out. Remember to like, subscribe, and share the heck out of these videos. I really enjoy doing this for you all, and I have a long summer ahead of me, so keep the requests coming. You all have a great evening.